Femi had it all: cars, mansion, billions. But before proposing to Juliet, he pretended to lose everything, just to test her love. She thought he was broke. Her friends told her to walk away, but she stayed. What happened next will shock you. Like, share, comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories. Femi had it all: a big mansion in Lekki, expensive cars in his compound, a driver, a cook, and even a gardener. People used to call him Odogwu because of how rich and generous he was. Wherever Femi went, people respected him. He wore the best clothes, sprayed money at parties, and never lacked anything. But the best thing in his life was Juliet, his beautiful fiancée. Juliet was smart, calm, and loving. She had stood by him for 2 years and never asked for too much. Femi loved her deeply, and he had bought a diamond ring to propose. He wanted to surprise her in a big way, but something kept troubling him. What if she only loves me because of the money? He thought one night, sitting in his luxurious living room. He remembered how some of his friends had been used by women who left them once money finished. Femi didn't want to make that mistake. He wanted to know if Juliet truly loved him. Not his cars, not his mansion, not his wealth. Just him. So he came up with a plan. A test. A big one. "I'll pretend I'm broke," he said to himself. "No cars, no money, no mansion, just me." That night, Femi picked up his phone and called his best friend, Emeka. "Guy, I want to try something crazy," Femi said. "What's that?" Emeka asked, curious. "I want to act like I'm broke, like I lost everything. I need to know if Juliet truly loves me," Femi explained. Emeka paused. "You sure about this? You know some girls go run if money no day." Femi smiled sadly. "If she runs, then she's not the one for me." And so it began. The next day, Femi told Juliet that he had borrowed a large amount of money for a business contract, but the company hadn't paid him yet. He said the bank was on his neck, and he might have to sell some things to survive. Juliet was shocked, but calm. She held his hands and said, "It's okay, Femi. Life is like that sometimes. We'll manage. You're not alone." Femi looked at her quietly. She didn't cry. She didn't shout. She just hugged him and told him, "We'll survive this together." That evening, Femi asked his driver not to come. He said he had sold the car. Juliet didn't complain. "Should I order food?" she asked. "No, let's just cook into me," Femi said. Juliet laughed and went to the kitchen. They ate together, just like any regular couple. No fancy wine, no chicken, no music playing in the background. But Femi noticed something. Juliet still smiled. That night, as they lay on the bed, Femi looked at her again. "Juliet," he whispered. "Yes? Would you still love me if I had nothing?" Juliet turned to him and touched his face. "Femi, I love you for you, not your money. If we like, let's start afresh in one room. I'll still stand by you." Femi closed his eyes. He felt peace in his heart. But the test was just beginning. Femi kept up with his plan. Day by day, he slowly removed the signs of his wealth. He told Juliet that the bank had taken over some of his properties and that he was still waiting to be paid for the contract. He said he had to sell his second car to settle part of the loan. Juliet believed everything. She didn't cry or complain. She kept encouraging him. "It's not the end of the world," she said one morning. "You're still alive. You're not lazy. Things will get better." They stopped eating takeout and started cooking simple meals at home. No more eating out in restaurants. No more food deliveries. Femi was watching her closely, and to his surprise, Juliet never made him feel less of a man. She even started looking for little ways to help. She would cook for him before he got home and clean the house without being asked. She was not the kind of woman who needed a rich man to be happy. She just wanted peace and love. But not everyone was happy with her choices. Juliet's friend Tiwa called her one day. Tiwa was loud, flashy, and always chasing rich men. She couldn't understand why Juliet was still with Femi. "Are you okay at all?" Tiwa asked over the phone. "Why are you still with Femi? He's broke now. You're a fine girl. Use your head." "Tiwa, I love him," Juliet replied. "Money will come and go, but a good man is hard to find." Tiwa laughed. "Love cannot pay bills. You better find a rich sugar daddy before you regret this your foolish loyalty." Juliet ended the call. She sat quietly for a while, feeling a little shaken, but she reminded herself why she chose Femi. He had always treated her right. He respected her, cared for her, and never used his wealth to control her. If he was now going through hard times, the least she could do was stand by him. The next weekend, Femi told her he had to sell the house. "We'll move into a smaller place," he said softly. "Just for now." "Okay," Juliet replied. "Are you sure you're okay with this?" he asked again, looking at her. "As long as we have each other, I'm okay," she smiled. Femi nodded. Deep inside, he was touched, but he didn't show it yet. They packed their things and moved into a one-bedroom apartment in a quiet area. It was nothing like the mansion they left behind. The space was small, the kitchen was old, and the street was dusty. But Juliet didn't complain. She cleaned the place and made it feel like home. 1 week later, Tiwa came to visit. She looked around the small apartment and raised her eyebrows. "So this is where you're living now?" she asked, standing in the middle of the room like a queen. Juliet smiled. "Yes, it's small, but it's home." Tiwa shook her head. "I can't believe you reduced yourself to this level. You're too pretty for this kind of life. See how Femi dragged you down. You should leave him." Femi sat in the corner, silent. He didn't say a word, but Juliet stood up. "Tiwa," she said firmly, "I won't let you disrespect my man in my own house. If you don't have anything kind to say, please leave." Tiwa looked shocked. "Are you chasing me?" "Yes. You're not welcome here anymore." Tiwa grabbed her bag and stormed out. Femi looked at Juliet. For the first time in a long while, his heart felt full. She had passed another test. After Tiwa left the house that day, everything changed between Femi and Juliet. There was a new kind of peace in their small home. Even though the place was not beautiful or big, Juliet made it feel warm and full of love. Femi continued pretending to be broke. He wore only old clothes now and stopped going out with his rich friends. He avoided any place that would reveal the truth about his wealth. To keep the story real, he even started doing small jobs, like painting, carrying blocks, and helping at construction sites. Every day, Femi came home tired and dusty. Sometimes he would sit on the floor to rest, but Juliet was always there, bringing him water, helping him wash, and making simple meals from what they could afford. Even though life was tough, she never raised her voice or blamed him for anything. One day, Femi told her, "You don't need to suffer like this with me. If you want to go, I'll understand." Juliet looked at him and said, "Why would I leave you? You're not sick. You're not lazy. We will rise again." That night she brought out her sewing machine from the corner of the room. It was old and dusty. "I used to sew before I met you," she smiled. "It's time I returned to it. We need extra money." Femi was shocked. "Are you sure?" "Yes," Juliet nodded. "We can't depend on your small jobs forever. I can sew clothes and sell them at the market." From that day, Juliet worked day and night. She went to the market in the mornings, to buy materials, and by evening she would sit at the machine, sewing. Femi watched her with pride. The woman he thought he needed to test had already proved herself in so many ways. One afternoon, Femi went to the construction site to work. The sun was hot, and cement dust covered his skin and clothes. After work, he stopped by Juliet's shop to wait for her so they could walk home together. As he approached, he saw something strange. A young man, dressed well and smelling of expensive perfume, was standing in front of Juliet's small shop. The man was holding a small gift bag. Femi stopped a little distance away, hiding behind a wall. He didn't want to interrupt, not yet. The man was smiling and talking. "Juliet, leave that broke man. You're too fine to be suffering with someone who has nothing. I'll take care of you. I have money, cars, everything. Just say yes." Juliet looked up at the man and replied without fear, "I'm not interested. I have someone I love, and I'm not leaving him for anyone." The man looked surprised. "Even in this your small shop?" "Yes," she said firmly. "This small shop is better than a mansion without peace." The man shook his head and walked away, feeling embarrassed. Femi stood still, his eyes full of tears. He wiped his face quickly and walked toward the shop as if he didn't see anything. "Babe," he said with a tired smile, "I'm here." Juliet stood and helped dust the cement from his shirt. "You're looking dusty," she joked. "And you're looking like a queen," Femi replied. They laughed together. Femi held her hand quietly. In his heart, he knew he had found something money could not buy. Femi and Juliet were still living in their small one-bedroom apartment. Life was hard, but they were managing. Every morning, Femi left the house with his old backpack and headed to the construction site where he had picked up small jobs. He would spend the day mixing cement, lifting blocks, and sweating under the hot sun. When he came home in the evening, Juliet would already be there, waiting with food on the table and a warm smile. She never complained about the heat, the lack of space, or the stress. Instead, she encouraged him. "God is watching," she would say. "We will not remain like this forever." Juliet was also working hard. She had gone back to her old sewing machine, the one she kept under their small bed. At first, she only patched clothes for neighbors, but soon word spread. Some people came to sew new dresses. Others came to adjust trousers and native gowns. She was making a little money. Not much, but it helped with food and transport. One evening, they sat on the floor, eating rice and beans from the same plastic plate. A rechargeable lamp glowed dimly beside them. "I sold 3 dresses today," Juliet said, with a small smile. Femi smiled too. "You're becoming richer than me." Juliet laughed and wiped her hands on her wrapper. "Don't worry. When you get your contract money, we'll be rich together again." Femi's smile faded slowly. He placed his spoon down and leaned back against the wall. Juliet noticed and paused. "What's wrong?" she asked softly. Femi sighed and looked down at the floor. "The man who was supposed to approve my contract payment, he died last month." Juliet's eyes widened in shock. "The new person that took over the company doesn't even know about the contract," he added. "There's no record, no file, no trace. It's like it never happened. I've lost hope of getting that money." Juliet was quiet for a moment. Then she reached for his hand. "Then let it go," she said gently. "We'll start afresh. I'm not here because of that money. I'm here because I believe in you." Femi looked at her. Her face was calm. Her eyes were honest. This woman sitting on the floor with him had given up comfort and luxury, and still smiled. That night, Femi couldn't sleep. He stood by the window, looking out at the dusty street. The streetlights flickered. Cars passed occasionally, but the night was mostly quiet. His heart was heavy with thoughts. She gave up her comfort, gave up her friends, and she's still here, he whispered. The next day, he went to the construction site, but he wasn't himself. His mind kept flashing back to everything Juliet had done for him. The sacrifices, the defense, the loyalty. After work, he stood outside a roadside shop and bought cold sachet water. As he drank, he said to himself, "What else do I need to see?" When he got home, Juliet had made okra soup and simo. The smell filled the air. "Come and eat before it gets cold," she said from the kitchen. Femi sat on the mat and washed his hands. As he ate, he watched her quietly. Later that night, when Juliet had fallen asleep beside him, Femi tiptoed into the small passage and picked up his phone. He called Emeka. "It's time," he whispered. "You sure?" Emeka asked. "Yes. I've seen everything I need to see. She's the one." It was a hot Wednesday afternoon. The sun was high in the sky, and the sound of cement mixers and hammering filled the air at the construction site. Femi stood by the edge of the building in his dirty shirt, holding a shovel. His hands were rough, his clothes stained, and his face looked worn out. But deep down, he didn't care. He had a plan. Around 1 p.m., while he was helping lift a bag of cement, one of the workers tapped his shoulder. "Guy, someone dey find you," the man said. Femi turned, and to his surprise, he saw Juliet standing outside the site gate. She wore a simple Ankara gown and held a cooler and a bottle of water in a black nylon bag. Her face glowed with sweat, but her smile was bright. "Babe, I brought lunch," she said. Femi's heart skipped. He walked up to her, shocked but happy. "You didn't have to come all the way here," Juliet smiled. "You've been working hard. The least I can do is feed you well." They found a quiet spot beside the fence, where workers usually took breaks. She opened the cooler. There was jollof rice, fried plantain, and a piece of chicken. Femi sat on a low block and began eating. "You made all this?" "Yes," she said, wiping his sweaty face with a handkerchief. "You're working too hard." Femi looked at her. "You're the one working hard, sewing by day, cooking by night." Just then, a black SUV pulled up beside the site. The gate opened, and the building owner stepped out. He was a tall, dark-skinned man in a white kaftan and designer shades. His name was Mr. Alex, rich, proud, and always looking for attention. He walked past the workers and stopped when he saw Juliet. "Good afternoon," he said, removing his shades. "Good afternoon, sir," she replied politely. He smiled, eyes fixed on her. "I don't think I've seen you here before. Are you one of the engineer's wives?" Juliet shook her head. "No, sir. I brought food for someone." "Oh? Is it your brother, or—" he asked. "My fiancé," Juliet said quickly. She pointed to Femi, who was sitting on the block, watching quietly. Mr. Alex looked surprised. "Him?" "Yes," Juliet said without blinking. Mr. Alex chuckled. "You're a fine woman. A woman like you should not waste beauty and time on a site laborer. I can take care of you, you know. I have houses, cars, anything you want." Femi froze, waiting for what Juliet would say. But her reply came fast and sharp. "I'm not for sale, sir," she said. "I came here to feed my man, not to be admired by strangers." Mr. Alex blinked, clearly not expecting that. "I didn't mean to offend—" "You already did," Juliet cut in. "Please, excuse us." She sat down beside Femi and handed him the bottle of water. Mr. Alex adjusted his glasses and walked away without another word. Femi looked at Juliet speechless. "You didn't have to do that," he whispered. Juliet smiled. Yes, I did. So next time you doubt me, remember this day. Femi felt a lump in his throat. He held her hand tightly, but he said nothing. That night, after they got home, Femi lay awake in bed. Juliet was fast asleep beside him. He stared at the ceiling and whispered to himself, "She's passed every test. It's time." Femi couldn't wait any longer. Juliet had passed every test he secretly set. From the moment he pretended to lose his wealth to when they moved into a tiny one-room apartment, she never left his side. She worked, cooked, encouraged him, and even defended him against her own friends. Now, it was time to show her who he really was and give her the surprise of her life. He picked up his phone and called Emeka. "Bro, I'm ready. This proposal has to be big, like movie level." Emeka laughed. "You're serious now, Abi?" "I'm serious," Femi replied. "We're booking the rooftop of Eco Hotel. I want flowers, candles, lights. The whole place must glow. And I want two of Nigeria's biggest music superstars to perform live." Emeka paused. "Wait, what?" "I've already reached out to their teams," Femi continued. "They're on board. They liked our love story." Emeka whistled. "You know they play." "That's not all," Femi added. "I've also bought her a Lamborghini Urus, black with orange interior, her dream car. I want it parked on the rooftop beside the flowers, covered with a big red ribbon." "God," Emeka laughed. "You're proposing or launching a new life?" "Both," Femi said quietly. "She deserves more than words." By that evening, Femi and Emeka had finalized bookings. The Echo Hotel event team began setting up. The rooftop would be decorated with white and gold flowers, floating candles in clear jars, and a glowing backdrop with the words, "Will you marry me, Juliet?" A camera crew was arranged to secretly capture the moment. The music artist teams confirmed their attendance and rehearsal times. Meanwhile, Femi kept acting distant at home. He told Juliet he was thinking of traveling to Port Harcourt for a possible construction job and might be gone a few days. Juliet didn't panic. She simply said, "I understand. Do whatever you need to do. I'll keep praying for you." Femi swallowed hard. Even now, she still believed in him. 2 days later, everything was ready. The rooftop was glowing, the music team had arrived, and the Lamborghini was rolled into place, hidden behind curtains. Femi picked up his phone and dialed Juliet's number. "Hello," she answered. "Babe," he said with a nervous voice. "Something has happened. I'm at Echo Hotel. I was called in for questioning. They said I might be arrested." "What? Arrested for what?" Juliet shouted, panic in her voice. "They're accusing me of fraud. I came to explain, but now they want to detain me. Please, can you come?" "I'm on my way right now," she cried, and ended the call. Back on the rooftop, Femi stood in front of the glowing decorations, wearing a royal blue tuxedo. His beard was freshly trimmed, and his shoes shone under the lights. Emeka walked over, holding his phone. "She's entered the hotel," he whispered. Femi nodded and closed his eyes for a moment. His heart pounded in his chest. "Tonight," he whispered, "the truth will shine." Juliet rushed into Echo Hotel, heart pounding, hands shaking. She had dropped everything the moment Femi called. The words still rang in her head. "They might arrest me." Her mind raced with worry. What had happened? Who accused him? Why Echo Hotel? She ran to the reception desk, out of breath. "Please, my fiancé." "Femi," he said, "he's here. He's in trouble." The receptionist, already briefed by Femi's team, nodded calmly. "Yes, ma. Someone left instructions for you. Please follow me." Juliet didn't ask questions. She followed quickly, barely noticing the lavish hotel surroundings. They stepped into an elevator, the silence pressing on her chest. Her mind imagined the worst. Femi handcuffed, police standing by, his dreams destroyed. The elevator reached the rooftop floor. The doors slid open. Juliet stepped out and froze. She was no longer in a hallway. She was standing in what looked like a dream. A golden glow lit the rooftop. White and cream flowers were arranged in perfect patterns. Candles floated in crystal jars. The gentle sound of music flowed in the air. A red carpet stretched forward. At the end of it, in glowing letters, stood a sign. "Will you marry me, Juliet?" Juliet couldn't move. Her bag dropped from her shoulder. Her eyes filled with tears. Then the music changed, and out walked two of Nigeria's biggest music superstars, live in person. Their voices filled the night sky. The crowd of invited guests, staff and friends clapped as Juliet stood stunned. She looked around, still in disbelief. And then, through the soft lights and rose petals, walked Femi. Not in construction clothes, not tired and dusty. He was dressed in a fitted royal blue suit, polished black shoes, and a confident smile. His presence lit the space. Juliet's mouth opened slightly. She was speechless. Femi walked up to her slowly, knelt down on one knee, and pulled out a black velvet box. "Juliet," he said gently, "you loved me when you thought I had nothing. You cooked for me when I was broke. You stood by me when your friends mocked us. You left comfort, followed me to a one-room apartment, and never once looked back." He opened the box. A sparkling diamond ring shimmered inside. "I was never broke," Femi said softly. "I only wanted to see who truly loved me for me, and now I know." He looked into her eyes. "Will you marry me?" Juliet's knees buckled. She dropped to the floor and covered her face, crying. I don't understand," she whispered. Femi reached for her hand. "Everything was a test, and you passed every part." The guests clapped. The singers changed to a slow, romantic tune. Then the curtains at the side of the rooftop pulled open. Juliet looked up and gasped. There, under a spotlight, stood a brand-new black Lamborghini Urus with orange leather seats wrapped in a giant red ribbon. "This is your engagement gift," Femi said, "for every sacrifice you made when you thought I had nothing." Juliet stood slowly, shaking. Her hands covered her mouth. She looked at Femi, then at the car, then at the glowing crowd. She couldn't hold it anymore. "Yes," she cried. "Yes, Femi, I'll marry you." The rooftop exploded in cheers. Femi stood and hugged her tightly. They danced slowly to the music as soft flower petals dropped from the ceiling. The moment was perfect, surreal, magical. Top Afrobeats legends performed behind them, the Lagos skyline glittering in the background. And in that one moment, Juliet knew. This was the beginning of forever. The news of Juliet's surprise proposal spread fast across social media. Videos from the rooftop were everywhere. Pictures of the Lamborghini, the rooftop setup, trended for days. People were shocked and touched by the story of a woman who stood by her man when he had nothing, only to be rewarded like a queen. But one person who couldn't believe her eyes was Tiwa. She had laughed at Juliet, mocked her, told her she would regret staying with Femi. Now Juliet was not only engaged, she was engaged to a billionaire, and she was living in a brand new mansion in Banana Island. A week later, Tiwa showed up at Juliet's gate. She came in a borrowed dress, holding a small gift bag with 2 cupcakes and a note that read, "Congratulations." The security man looked at her from head to toe, then called inside. Madam, one lady day outside. She say her name is Tiwa. Juliet was sitting by the poolside, sipping juice under a palm umbrella. She wore a white sundress and soft slippers. Her hair was in braids, her skin glowing. Let her in, Juliet said calmly. When Tiwa stepped into the mansion, she was stunned. The marble floors, the gold chandeliers, the open glass windows, everything screamed wealth and class. Juliet stood up and smiled. Tiwa, she said kindly. Welcome. Tiwa looked uncomfortable. Juliet, I came to say, I was wrong. I didn't know. Juliet hugged her gently. It's okay. I judged him, Tiwa added. I told you to leave him. Now look at you. You're living every girl's dream. Juliet smiled again and gestured for her to sit. But Tiwa, she said slowly, I learned something, and I hope you do too. What's that? Tiwa asked. All that glitters is not gold, Juliet replied, and not everything that looks poor is truly poor. Some people hide their gold in dirty clothes, just to test who deserves it. Tiwa looked down. Juliet continued, I didn't stay because I thought he was rich. I stayed because he respected me. He listened. He loved me even when he had nothing to offer. Tiwa nodded slowly. You're a better woman than me. Juliet held her hand. Just don't ever judge people by what they wear or where they live. Real value is inside the heart. Tiwa wiped her eyes. Thank you for not insulting me. I would have. Juliet laughed. I don't need to insult you. My peace is enough. After Tiwa left, Juliet walked back to the living room where Femi was waiting. He had just finished packing a travel bag. Is she gone? He asked. Juliet nodded. Did you slap her? He teased. Number I taught her, she said, smiling. That weekend, they both boarded a private jet to Seychelles for a quiet getaway. The beach was clean, the breeze was soft, and the resort was paradise. They spent the weekend relaxing, laughing, and thanking God for everything. A few months later, they had a private wedding ceremony with close friends and family. No cameras, no noise, just love. Now 2 years had passed. Femi and Juliet were living happily in their mansion, with 2 beautiful daughters. The girls looked just like their mother, strong eyes, bright smiles, and gentle hearts. Sometimes, Femi would sit outside on the balcony and hold Juliet's hand. Thank you, he would say. For what? She'd ask. For seeing the real me, before the world did. Juliet would smile and reply, thank you too, for showing me that true love still exists. And that's how a test turned into a testimony.